How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is TheStarkz, and welcome to, yet again, another The Last of Us Part 2 video. Today, we're going to be talking about a few things, actually. One thing is the reason as to why I am slightly worried, or just worried in general, for The Last of Us Part 2. And before I get into the specifics as to why I'm slightly worried for The Last of Us Part 2, I just want to briefly mention that, or state that being worried for something isn't necessarily a negative thing. I know a lot of people say, well, if you're worried, you're being negative, you are negative. And I just want to be clear that I'm not negative, and I'm not going to be negative here, because, you know, this is The Last of Us Part 2, man. I'm really excited for it, as a lot of other people are as well. And so I just want to make that very clear. And so, yeah, so the reason as to why I'm worried, and this should be a no-brainer, is because of the fact that we haven't, there's actually a couple of reasons, okay, there's this common expectation that a lot of people have for The Last of Us Part 2, and you know, a lot of companies get this, a lot of different mediums get this, you know, whether it's a director like Quentin Tarantino, or you know, a movie star like Brad Pitt or whoever, right? You're automatically going to have this common expectation. You know, there's this thing called common law that police officers have here in Canada, where you automatically get the right as an officer to search and seize anything that you see that might cause injury or escape or outstanding evidence. And so that is something that's common law. It's not necessarily written in the books, but it is common for an officer to do so if they choose. And typically most officers do. So this is the same thing where it can be applied to this. You know, you have things like criticism, and whether it's good or bad criticism. And that is within the books, because people disagree or agree with it. But with something like common expectation is this thing where a lot of people, fans of this kind of medium, fans of Naughty Dog, have this common expectation that, hey, The Last of Us Part 2 is going to perform good, or at least that's my expectation. And so that's why I made the comparison. So automatically, I'm worried for The Last of Us Part 2 because I don't know if it's going to live up to the hype in respects to story. I know gameplay will, but in respects to story, because apparently The Last of Us, the first game, is this very intimate story between Ellie and Joel, and people loved it. And while I'm amongst the minority who didn't really play The Last of Us because I loved the story more so than I did the multiplayer, but I am still connected to these two characters, and I want to see them get a lot of good showing in The Last of Us Part 2. So another reason is because, listen, we haven't received an actual like formal update in respects to gameplay and story and multiplayer, or anything concrete like that, since last year's E3. And as we know, it's July, baby. It is mid-July, and E3 was last month, right? So the summer breaks has barely, you know, it's almost done, right, for a lot of people, and we still haven't received any updates. You know, I know we got an update from Naughty Dog regarding, or Neil Druckmann regarding The Last of Us Part 2 being finished, you know, in terms of mocap, but that was April 18. So I like, whenever mocap's finished, I like to add an additional month. So let's say it didn't technically finish until May 18. Let's just say that, because, you know, there's reshoots, there's different kind of things that they might, you know, if Neil Druckmann tweeted on that day that they actually finished mocap, April 18, if that's the day that they finish, please, I doubt that they haven't worked on more stuff during the mocap, you know, since then. So I always add a month. So basically, The Last of Us Part 2 hasn't technically finished mocap until May 18, right? So by that respect, it's the 16th that I'm recording this video, 16th of July, which means that's almost 2 months since mocap, which means by now they should have at least half of the game's mocap at least rendered, you know, right onto The Last of Us Part 2's disc, or I wouldn't say disc, because they have to, you know, it's a whole process, but you know, they should at least have, because it's almost 2 months, like there's many people working at Naughty Dog. So the fact that we haven't received any like official you know, news since E3 of 2018, it kind of gets me a little worried, because, you know, there's, on top of that, a huge number of job listings, which I might make on another video, you know, someday. And it's like, I don't know if that's because they need people or because they're working on something else, but it's a little bizarre to me. It's like, why are they hiring so many people or posting jobs for so many different positions? So I don't know what that is. I don't know what that can detail. Like, we obviously know that they're probably around their crunch time now, and given the fact that, The Last of Us Part 2's mocap finished essentially in May 18th of 2019, count down a couple of months between crunch time and mocap and that whole transitional and developmental process. We might get it in February of 2020, but I find that hard to believe, because it's like, dude, they've been working on this game for a long time, and I'm slightly worried. I genuinely mean that, because obviously this game looks beautiful, gameplay looks great. Neil Druckmann posted something how he's working long hours, late at night. There's things that motivate him, like the fans, but that worries me. It's like, does that mean that they're being really pressured by just in general by the company Naughty Dog itself, or by PlayStation, corporates? I don't know what that could mean, but I am worried for the well-being of the individuals who are working on this game, because I don't want that to really to reflect off of that in The Last of Us Part 2, which I doubt it would. But nonetheless, as a fan of The Last of Us, as a fan of Naughty Dog, as a fan of video games, I'm not only excited for The Last of Us Part 2, but I'm also worried. Of course, those are my thoughts and opinions regarding The Last of Us Part 2 and why I'm slightly worried for it. You can leave your comments in the comment section below. I do apologize for not having a video uploaded within a whole week. I've been really busy. I'm working and doing other stuff, which I won't mention. But, I have a busy summer, okay? So I do apologize, though. Of course, if you're new to my channel, I would appreciate it if you subscribed and stayed with me for a little bit. And as always, I've been TheStarkz. Peace.